Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 175 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making me one of them. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I would love for you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me in it. I would love to cheer you on and get to know you a little bit better. So one thing about doing podcasts is you don't know everybody who's listening. So I would really love the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better because you listen to this podcast and listen to me all the time. Don't forget you can find the show notes for this podcast with all the links and all the information that you need that I'm going to talk about at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/175. Also, just before we get into this week's topic, my 6-week marketing mastermind program is coming up for the first time in 2022 very shortly. I only run this about 3 times a year, and I only take 8 small business owners. So if you're keen on some mentoring and some accountability and some group coaching to take 2022 by the horns and turn it into your business year, then maybe come along and join me for the February starting 6-week marketing mastermind program. You can get all the details by going to the show notes, as I just said before, or going to bit.ly/mastermind with Jen. Or of course, you'll find it on my website. You'll find it if you're looking for it. But let's get into this week's episode on NFTs, social coin, and Web 3.0. Now, NFT stands for non-fungible tokens, just in case you're wondering, but I won't be saying that. I will be saying NFTs. So what is a non-fungible token then? Well, let me try and explain this to you. I'm not even 100% sure exactly what it is myself because, like I said, I'm just starting to go down this rabbit hole. But the best way I've heard it explained, and remember, I'm not an expert, so the best way I've heard this explained is this. So Bitcoin is fungible. So what that means is that every Bitcoin is the same. They have identical numbers on a computer and are purely digital, and only 21 million of them were ever created, but they're all the same. They have the same identical numbers. So they're what you call fungible. That's what fungible apparently means, the same. Non-fungible means they are never the same. In fact, no two are ever the same. The best example that I can give you, the way that I heard it explained that kind of made me go, was to think about the house that you live in right now. So the house you live in is non-fungible. There is never going to be another house exactly like yours. Yes, someone might have the exact same floor plan as you, but it won't be on your land. So it can never be replicated. That plot of land has your house on it and therefore can never be replicated because there's no plot of land like your plot of land. Like, it's literally unique and individual, and therefore it's non-fungible. Your house is non-fungible because it can't be replicated. So NFT tokens are non-fungible. No two are ever the same. They do not have the same numbers on the blockchain, and therefore even if someone has 100 tokens that all seemingly do the same thing, they each have a unique identifiable number. So imagine the possibilities of being able to own something such as a token and being able to trace it forever digitally. Like, the future uses of NFTs are really quite unimaginable. And what I mean by that is I seriously don't think they've even been invented yet. It's a space that is just unimaginable to us at the moment, but it's coming. Now, absolutely, no bars held. I am not an expert in these fields, but it has been the massive rabbit hole I have gone down over the Christmas New Year break. And I'm really fascinated by it all. And I just wanted to share some opinions, I guess, some thoughts, and maybe some nudges with you about what all this is and what I think is the future. So it's kind of more of an opinion piece marketing podcast today rather than an actual factual one because, again, I'm not the expert. For those listeners who may be thinking I've gone a little bit cray-cray and aren't quite sure what I'm talking about, here's an explanation by me as to what NFTs, social coin, and all Web 3.0 basically is. So if you've heard of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, well, it's kind of like an online currency that no one owns. No one owns it. It's actually built on a blockchain. And I've been down a rabbit hole to see who the heck invented Bitcoin, and I've come up trumps. Like, I can't find anything. I've read articles, I've listened to podcasts, I have just been down a rabbit hole. But whoever invented blockchain and Bitcoin, well, I guess maybe you can tell me. I certainly can't find it. But I think my fascination with NFTs and social coin and cryptocurrency has come from my, let's say, disgruntledness of Web 2.0. So, Web 2.0, I've spoken about Web 3.0. Let me explain that a little bit further. So basically, Web 1.0 was the start of the internet as we know it now. It wasn't what it looks like today, though. There was only a few creators. Personal web pages were super common, and you might remember names like Netscape, which was the first web browser, Yahoo, which was actually a directory for the net, and Flickr, which is where people stored their photos. Now, depending on your age as you listen to this, all those names might sound super familiar. So this was Web 0.0. It was a simpler time. No one owned the web, and that was in fact the intention of the man who invented the web, Tim Berners-Lee. That was his intention, that no one would own this web, which is kind of reminiscent of blockchain and no one owning blockchain. So fast forward to today, Web 2.0 is where the web is basically owned by a few giants. We have Google, we have Meta, who are formerly known as Facebook, and we have Amazon. And to some extent, we have Apple. They are giant companies who basically own the internet, even though the intention was that no one would own the internet. And they do rule it because, like, Amazon can say whether or not they'll sell your products. Google can either show your content and your website or not show it. It's their choice. And Facebook, well, they're a law unto themselves. In fact, did you know that there was an account that called themselves or used the phrase metaverse for about 10 years prior to Facebook changing its name to Meta? And then afterwards, Facebook just simply deactivated their account and made them disappear overnight. That is, someone who has laws unto themselves. Didn't like something, just got rid of it. And this is the problem with Web 2.0. And this is where my disgruntledness lays. So the thought of Web 3.0 is really fascinating to me. It's been something, like I said before, I've completely gone down rabbit holes on during December and January. I'm not saying that I'm any clearer or I'm any cluier, but it's definitely a really big fascination of mine. And Web 3.0 is in the very, very early stages. Even though Bitcoin, for instance, has been around for almost 10 years, the thought of web being built on open and transparent protocols that live on a blockchain is still extremely new and, frankly, confusing to most of us, including me. I'm of the opinion that it's only confusing to us because of the way we are programmed, though. Money is tangible for us. It always has been. It's never non-tangible. Even if we just trade it over our banking apps, we can still imagine what it looks like. We still can, if we wanted to, go and withdraw all the money that we have, touch it, feel it, and hide it under our pillows. NFTs, social coin, and cryptocurrency, you can't. The fact that Bitcoin actually has a symbol of a coin is to help us imagine it, because there's no actual Bitcoin. It doesn't exist in tangible form, or at least not as legal tender. So it's kind of the whole symbol of Bitcoin is a bit of a gimmick in the end to help us try and understand what cryptocurrency or social coin is all about. Now, you might be wondering or thinking, how on earth is this ever going to take off? So I thought I'd remind you of some massive errors made in judgment in the past by people who perhaps should have had foresight, but they simply didn't. Maybe this might be the nudge you need to start thinking about this sort of thing. Look, I honestly believe that we will all have our own social coin as business owners at some stage. It'll be like, just like we have reward systems for loyal customers and reward programs, and that eventually we will have our own social coin or our own NFT. Sounds unbelievable, but stick with me. So let's have a look at some people that perhaps should have had foresight, but they didn't. My first one, and really, I guess my favorite one as far as a social media marketing type coach goes, I really do like the bad story of how blockbusters laughed at Netflix. So back in the early ooh-oohs, so around 2000, I think, it might have even been 2002 from memory, basically Netflix offered Blockbuster to buy them out for $50 million. I think Blockbuster basically laughed at them, thinking, why would they spend $50 million on something that had actually lost money, had never actually turned a profit. I think at the stage Netflix had lost $47 million or something that year, but they had foresight. Blockbuster did not. And Blockbuster at the time was worth $6 billion. Of course, fast forward 10 years and they were completely bankrupt. There was nothing left of that Blockbuster real empire that used to exist. They failed to see how we would adapt from DVDs to streaming. They just didn't have the foresight to see the vision that the mighty Netflix could see. From 6 billion to nothing in 10 years. Lack of foresight. Another famous ridiculous quote, and it's only ridiculous now because we get to look back on it with foresight. But basically, I remember reading in a book some time ago, and I was only reminded of it listening to a podcast the other day, how the owner of Dell Computers said that, he would shut down Apple and give all the money back to the shareholders. He just thought Apple were just being so ridiculous in what they were trying to achieve. They were a computer company. Why would they try and do MP3 players and phones and things like that when they were simply a computer company? Again, lack of foresight as to what the future could hold. And if you need some more convincing, because I haven't quite convinced you yet, well, I guess for me, it's like if you can't imagine something doesn't mean it can't happen. And just because we can't touch something doesn't mean it can't be invented. But again, if you want even more proof, here's some proof that I think that you just might like or really might resonate with you. So Eric Schmidt, who is the former CEO of Google, is now a strategic advisor to a crypto company. Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter, quit Twitter to focus on cryptocurrency or crypto and changed the name of his company from Square to Block. I love that. That's a little bit edgy, isn't it? Ever so clever, Jacko, my dear son. Ever so clever. More proof that we need to sit up and look at what's happening inside our world is that Facebook recently renamed itself to Meta, as in the meta universe or the metaverse. These people are basically putting trillions of dollars. I think the Google search that I came up with, and don't believe everything you see in Google, but the total investments in cryptocurrencies at the moment is $2.3 trillion. And companies like Visa and MasterCard and PayPal are already trying to be early adopters as to what this might look like in the future for us. So this podcast episode was never telling you about these new currencies or this is the new way of doing business, but it is coming. It's coming ready or not. Like the main aim of my podcast today, again, like I said, it was more of an opinion piece, was to put this on your radar because it's on mine. It's something I'm going to keep listening to, hoping to get some guests on the podcast to talk to you more about it as the year rolls on. Someone who actually knows a lot more than me, which probably isn't hard. But if you're interested in it, let's keep in touch. If there's someone who trades or who is an expert in this line of work, I'd love you to connect them with me. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about this, start looking for some podcasts to listen to or follow some people on social media and really start to learn what this looks like and maybe be an early adopter. Maybe come down the rabbit hole with me. That's what it's about. It's about looking at, again, Web 3.0. What could the future look like that's different to now? Because now, I guess we're all running out of patience with having 4 or 5 giant companies dictating what we can and can't do in our businesses. So I, for one, am putting my hand up. I am so ready for the change that's coming. So I really hope this podcast and it has inspired something in you, made you think outside the box, perhaps, and perhaps learning something new or being an early adopter of the future completely lights you up like it is lighting me up. That's the message I wanted to get to you today. Think about these things. They seem far-fetched. They seem complicated. Come down a rabbit hole with me and let's see where we land. I'd love to talk more about this. If you're not a member of the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group, then come and join that and let's have a bit of a chat. Remember, you can find all the show notes at socialmediamarketing.com.au/175. But otherwise, I'll see you next week on the podcast, but perhaps not such an opinion piece, but more going down the marketing tips and tricks. But in the meantime, let's hang out on social and get social on social. You will, of course, find me on all the platforms, Instagram at @Jen_, Facebook, Like-Minded Business Owners Group is the best over there. Or, of course, come and join me on LinkedIn and let's connect over there. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small. And isn't that the truth on this episode?
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.